Hello, welcome back to the Nook. I'm Daniel, and today I'll be doing a spoiler-free review for this book here, Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, Book 3 of the Stormlight Archive. Now, I'll just explain it once again. There are 5 main Stormlight Archive books now. The 5th book just came out in December. It's called Wind and Truth, and it's planned to be a 10-volume series with 2 5-part arcs. So the first arc has ended. I am rereading the series in order to prepare for book 5, which I do have. But I've been reading the novellas in between as well. So my last review was for Edge Dancer, which was between books 2 and 3. And now that I finished book 3, I am reading Dawn Shard, which is before book 4. So I will be getting to book 4, and then I can finally read book 5. So Oathbringer is an interesting one because out of the first 4 that I've heard of, Oathbringer is kind of considered the weakest, but this time around, because this is a reread, I've read books 1 through 4 before, but this time around reading Oathbringer, I liked it even more than Words of Radiance, which I always thought was the best. So my new favorite out of the first 3 might be Oathbringer. Rhythm of War, I remember I loved it. I think it was my favorite so far. Interesting to see what Wind and Truth is like. So before I get more into what I thought of Oathbringer, which I absolutely loved, I'll just read to you just the description here. In Oathbringer, the 3rd volume of the new New York Times bestselling Stormlight Archive, humanity faces a new desolation with the return of the Voidbringers, a foe whose numbers are as great as their thirst for vengeance. Dalinar Kholon's Alethi army won a fleeting victory at a terrible cost. The enemy Parshendi summoned the violent Everstorm, which now sweeps the world with destruction, and in its passing awakens the once peaceful and subservient Parshmen to the horror of their millennia-long enslavement by humans. While on a desperate flight to warn his family of the threat, Kaladin Stormblessed must come to grips with the fact that the newly kindled anger of the Parshmen may be wholly justified. Nestled in the mountains high above the storms, in the tower city of Urithiru, Shallan Devar investigates the wonders of the ancient stronghold of the Knights Radiant and unearths dark secrets lurking in its depths. And Dalinar realizes that his holy mission to unite his homeland of Alethkar is too narrow in scope. Unless all the nations of Roshar can put aside Dalinar's blood-soaked past and stand together, and unless Dalinar himself can confront that past, even the restoration of the Knights Radiant will not prevent the end of civilization. So this whole series is very epic in its scope. And Oathbringer, at this point, at the point of the 3 books being released, this came out in 2017, this felt like the biggest one. There's a lot going on with these characters. I feel like for the first 4 books that I know of, each book kind of focuses on a different character, and Oathbringer is Dalinar's book. So you get a lot of his past. I can't spoil too much about his past because it's some major reveals, but you get a lot of who he was in the past, the warrior that he was, and with his brother Gavilar. And it's really great seeing Dalinar's growth, where you see him in the past, then you see where he's at now, and the relationships he has. And you get some more of Kaladin, who's my personal favorite character. He deals with a lot of depression. Kaladin deals with anxiety, and of course now he's a Windrunner, so Kaladin can fly. He can summon Syl, his spren, as a shard blade or as a spear. And I mean, I just love the battles with Kaladin. And Bridge 4. Bridge 4 is great in this book. You see more from them. A lot of like the character named Teft, who struggles with basically a drug. It's called fire moss. They rub it between their fingers, the fire moss, and this smoke comes out and it sparks and it kind of burns their fingers, but it releases this scent that they kind of breathe in, and it becomes like a drug. And so you can see that's a really bad drug for him, but he's like addicted. So it's cool that you can see kind of different sides of these people. And Shallan was very interesting in this book. It's not a spoiler because it's in the first book. You find out she's betrothed to Dalinar's son, Adolin. And Adolin is, of course, some people don't like him because he's this sort of foppish nobleman who's obsessed with clothing and his hair. And Shallan finds him very handsome and loves him, but she loves him for who he is. He's a really good guy. And some people who read Stormlight don't care for Adolin. I think he's great. I like his romance with Shallan. And Shallan really shines in this book because you're seeing so much more of her character development with her different personas. So she's a light weaver, so she can draw a picture of a different version of herself and then she draws in the Stormlight and changes her persona to be that person. So there's Shallan, and then there's Vale, and then there's Radiant. And in her relationship with Adolin, he's sort of starting to see like, well, I just want the real Shallan. You shouldn't be putting on these facades. And so her arc with Adolin is really good in this story. Kaladin is continuing to be good in this story. Dalinar is great. And I just want to say, without spoiling it, this has a really good Sanderlanche. So the Sanderson fans, I mentioned it I think before, Sanderson fans talk about the Sanderlanche being any Sanderson book, the climax. It doesn't matter if it's even like I think Skyward had a Sanderlanche at the end of the last book and the other books, even if it's not in the Cosmere. So overall, I loved Oathbringer. Again, it was really good. I will always love it. I think I will probably prefer Rhythm of War in the reread as well. And I'm very excited to see what Wind and Truth is like, since I know nothing about Wind and Truth. And I will just add, I am starting Dawnshard, which I'd never read before. I've never read the, I guess you call it 3.5 book, the book between Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, Dawnshard. But I will be reviewing that next on my channel, and I have a bunch of stuff I'm reading I could review. I finished Wuthering Heights, I'm finishing the Silmarillion, so there's plenty of stuff I can review on the channel. And yeah, so I will say, if you haven't read Oathbringer, well, definitely read the first two books, maybe even read Edgedancer, but definitely Oathbringer is great. Like I said, some people don't care for it. Some people found Oathbringer was, I don't even know. I don't know what the reasons were. I thought it was epic. I think it was probably a more epic Sanderlanche than Words of Radiance. And the characters, like I said, were really good. Dalinar really shines in this one. I thought Shallan was great, and Kaladin, and just Bridge 4 in general. So all in all, this was action-packed. It was fast-paced. It was really good and a really great reread. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Dawnshard has to offer when I finish it. It's only 290 pages. And then seeing what I think of my reread of Rhythm of War. So yeah, thanks for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe, and remember, you're always welcome at the Nook. Bye.